I'm Leah,
And I'm Sarah.
and we're going to be debating how the Europeans impacted Native American life.
And Leah's going to be debating her side of whether
It benefited
it benefited the
Native Americans,
Native Americans, and I'm going to be debating on how it didn't, or
corrupted them.
corrupted
Yeah.
them and made their society worse.
Yep. So when the Europeans came to America, they thought, I don't know, the first thing they thought of was to make the Native Americans slaves because they didn't have the manpower to actually build up agriculture and just houses and places settlements. They didn't have the men to do that, and so they obviously had to befriend Native Americans. And so, but when they took the Native Americans, they didn't take them, but whenever they sorry, they didn't take them, but whenever they wanted the Native Americans to build with them, they kind of essentially made them kind of into slaves. But that was kind of inevitable because without that, they wouldn't the progress of the settlements would have been way slower, and it just would have held them back if they hadn't had their help. Mm-hmm. And so, and then the technology that the Europeans brought in was really innovative because, Native Americans, they lived their entire life just not knowing where or how, they lived a very simplistic life, and it was, I think they needed the resources from the Europeans. Mm-hmm. And so, but once they did get the resources, I think it benefited them tremendously because obviously, better things for their society is better for them. Well, yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would, it did benefit them in a couple of ways, but, from my perspective, as, in our project, I kind of am leaning towards the, didn't benefit them, at all, because when the Europeans came, they brought, their own diseases, and which the Native Americans were not immune to.
But it was inevitable.
And it was inevitable, but
it still
caused major population decrease, and they kind of had to start up from scratch because they lost so many people due to that. And from this, even though they did have slaves, that it also contributed to them becoming more globally accepted and they're knowing about technology and stuff. It still caused concern even now, because when looking back on it, it made the Native Americans just more susceptible and more easier to conquer, and they didn't have the resources, and so
yeah.
You have anything to comment?
No, not really. I mean, I knew there was lots of hatred, contributed to the Native American society because of because I don't know why, but they were there first, and they should have, from my perspective, they should have been the ones who were most respected, because they lived there obviously way before the Europeans came to conquer them. But still, I mean, even though they were less developed and they didn't have as much technology in warfare as the Europeans did, they still just kind of deserved their own freedom, but they didn't get that.
Yeah, the Native Americans, they were also they were in the fur trade, which at that time was very prominent, not even just in the Americas, but everywhere. In Africa, in China, in the Russia. I mean, all these different places. It was a major trading tool practically, and from that, the Europeans brought all this other things like alcohol and stuff like that. That was not it didn't contribute to their benefit. It just like contributed to their population decrease.
Mm-hmm.
And while they did benefit, like you said, the Native Americans like were treated differently than the Europeans treated their own kind. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they weren't allowed, they were like, it was pretty much like the social hierarchy, where the Europeans were just over, and the Native Americans just went down the list, and they weren't seen as important. They weren't seen as the same status, like the
because they weren't as like they thought like their brains weren't as like
they weren't as developed and
as the Europeans were.
And so, I mean, even though there is conflicting sides, like even though both the Native Americans were benefited and corrupted from the English settlement, but that's what makes our society it is today. So,
thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yep. See you later. Bye.